Am I the asshole for telling my brother's wife we can't all have rich parents like her and her siblings? My brother Nicky, 25 male, is married to Liza, 24 female.
They were at my parents' house on Sunday for dinner and Liza really annoyed the crap out of me, something that isn't new, and I said something in anger and I might be the asshole for it maybe.
So Liza has a wealthy family.
They paid for her and her siblings' college expenses 100%.
They paid for Nicky and Liza's house.
They paid for their wedding.
They're paying for one of their sons' weddings this summer.
They can afford all that.
Liza has always been very
open, if trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, about it.
She never hid the fact she came from money and was never shy about saying her parents pay for so much for her and her siblings. Liza doesn't understand that we're not all that lucky. I'm 19 female, work full-time and I still live with my parents. We couldn't afford college. I didn't get the grades for a scholarship. Struggled enough through school that getting into massive debt for college when I could end up flunking seemed like a bad move for me. So I focus on working and I applied for a couple of training programs close to my parents' house so I could try and do better without risking debt for nothing. Liza looks down on me so hard for living with my parents still and for not going to college. Sunday she talked about how all her siblings attended college, how 3 of them are still in college, living there and doing just fine. How they'll be able to buy houses right out of college. How even she and my brother could do it. My parents said politely that not everyone can do all that. But then she talked about being 19 and not in college or living on my own and how I should really try so much harder. I snapped at that moment and I told her we can't all have rich parents who can afford to pay our ways through college, for our weddings and for our houses. I told her my parents didn't have that kind of money and neither did I, so we were doing our best in this shitty fucking economy. Liza told me I'm just lazy and making excuses and she stormed out. Nicky left a while after and he was pretty quiet. Liza used his phone to send me 30 texts 3 days later demanding I apologize and tearing me a new one for not doing it without being told, and I know it was her because she texts in a very specific way. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. In fact, she is the one who owes you an apology for how she treats you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who take their fortune for granted. Kudos to you for realizing college may not be for you at this time or ever and trying to figure out your path. Here is the apology I would send. I am sorry. Sorry that you have been handed so much for free that you have no understanding for how the majority of the people in this world have to work to get by. I hope you will do your best to rectify this. You're not the asshole. Your sister-in-law is living in a delusional dreamland. Her parents may have bought her all kinds of material things, but they sure never taught her manners or self-reliance. You're going to have to work for everything you have, and you will end up being a lot more appreciative for everything you have and a lot more realistic as well as less judgmental of everyone else. Guess which one of you is the one most of us would prefer to have as a friend? Sorry, you're 19, working full-time, looking at training programs on top of that, and she is accusing you of being lazy? Ain't it the asshole? Your sister-in-law is delusional and most definitely an Not the asshole. Your sister-in-law was born on third base, and is convinced she hit a triple. Tell her to shove her bootstraps where the sun don't shine. Edit. Sister to sister-in-law. Text her back that you are shocked she has failed to realize she owes you and your parents an apology and how disappointing that you need to explain that to her. She insulted them and you, and if she still doesn't understand why she owes you an apology, then she needs to sit down and take a breath and think. Not the asshole. Your brother did not stand up for you? He's going to regret marrying that woman. Or he should regret it, unless he became like her. Am I the asshole for replacing my Mo in my wedding because she refused to buy her dress? I'm getting married in Sept and all of my bridesmaids and I went dress shopping a couple months ago. For some context, we're all in our mid-20s, employed, with no children. My wedding is out of town for my Mo and a couple other bridesmaids, but I'm getting a hotel room for all out-of-town bridesmaids for the wedding. I've known my Mo since 5th grade and we were best friends all through school. I moved away for college and we drifted apart, but I'd see her every time I came home. The dress shopping trip was out of town, so I paid for the 2 hotel rooms while we were there and I drove. My mom brought my Mo and a couple other bridesmaids since they still live in my hometown. For the dresses, my only requirement for them were that they had to be a specific blue color and no satin material.
We spent the whole afternoon trying on dresses and everyone found one they liked, including my mo. I've been told she picked out a $350 dress when most of my other bridesmaids had dresses in the $100–150 range. The next day was spent relaxing at the pool where my mo began complaining to one of my other bridesmaids about having to pay for her dress, saying it was my wedding, and if I wanted a specific dress for them to wear I should pay for it, and that I didn't pay for the bridesmaid dress when I was in her wedding. She got married at 18 and we wore old prom dresses we already had. My bridesmaid told her I was being pretty reasonable with my request and that she can get any dress she wanted in her budget.
Mo disagreed and the bridesmaid shrugged her off, but told me about it later.
A month later my mo called me and asked for me to buy her dress for her.
I told her it wouldn't be fair if I bought her dress and no one else's and I couldn't afford to buy everyone's dress. She said she is the mo and that everyone would understand it was a privilege she got. I disagreed and our argument got a little heated.
It ended with me saying if she could not get the dress, she couldn't be in the wedding and I wasn't budging on this.
She hung up on me.
Her mom has since called me saying I'm being very rude for not doing this one thing for her so she can be there on my big day and that I don't understand what it's like to not have money for things. I told her I have struggled before too and understand, but said I'm not paying for the dress because it won't be fair to all of the other bridesmaids. I've since made one of my other bridesmaids that has helped with all of the planning my mo and I've told my ex-mo she is still invited and sent her an invitation, but some family is telling me I should have just paid for the dress.
I know ex-mo is tight on money, but she's known she was going to be in my wedding for nearly 2 years at this point so I thought she would set aside money for it. Am I the asshole for not paying for her dress? Not the asshole.
It would not be fair to the other bridesmaids if you paid for her dress and not theirs. The most egregious part is the fact that all of your bridesmaids were given your criteria for the dresses and she picked out a $350 dress while the other bridesmaids picked out dresses in the $100–150 range. Then she wants you to pay for the $350 dress.
If she truly wanted to be in your wedding, she would have saved $100–150 over a 2-year period. Clearly, her desire was to score an expensive dress that she did not have to pay for.
As to her mother's comment, it sounds like you are welcoming her to be there for your big day, just not as a bridesmaid who won't pay for her dress.
Not the asshole. Sometimes brides pay for bridesmaids' dresses.
Sometimes they don't. Mo knew you weren't and picked a dress at least twice as expensive as everyone else's, then whined that it was too expensive. Not the asshole. It's common to buy your own mo bridesmaid dress, so if she can't afford to be in the wedding, understandable if money is an issue, it's quite alright to replace her.
Emo. It was shitty of her to complain about the dress to others when that was something she could have brought up to you one-on-one, which makes me wonder if she is really struggling with money or simply didn't want to buy the dress. Either way, you made the right decision. If I wanted a specific dress for them to wear, I should pay for it. But you didn't. You gave her a color to pick from. She chose a dress that wasn't in her budget. Oh well. She can find something she can afford or she can attend as a guest. She doesn't get to expect you to pay and then get pissed when you don't. Question: when did you tell her she was responsible for paying for her dress?
On the trip? Months beforehand? If she was tight on money, she should have said that up front and asked if you could help her purchase the dress. She certainly shouldn't have picked a $350 dress, complained to a bridesmaid, wait a while then ask you to buy the dress.
She's problematic and you did the bright thing removing her from the bridal party. Am I the asshole for calling my wife selfish after she told me to abandon our daughter for a week? English is not my first language, so I apologize for any minor errors you may find.
I, 32M, am married to my wife, 30F, and we have a beautiful 3-year-old little girl together.
Now if I'm being honest, our daughter is definitely growing up to be a typical daddy's girl.
Her first word was dada. Her first steps were spent walking over to me. Whenever she wants a hug she reaches out to me. And whenever we feed her my wife struggles to get her to open her mouth to actually eat while she'll eat anything I try to give her without hesitation. Yesterday after we put out daughter to bed my wife asked to speak with me about something important.
She pulled me aside and said she was worried about our daughter's behavior. She said she was worried about her growing up not loving her mother as much as her father. I was sympathetic towards her because I definitely thought the same thing for a little while. I told her she should sign up for a mommy and me class because it would be a great opportunity for them to bond. But she said she's too busy to do something like that.
So I asked what she wanted to do and her answer shocked me.
She said she'd like me to leave the house for a week to stay with my sister without telling my daughter first. She said that would practically force her and our daughter to bond.
I said absolutely not.
To me that sounded like the worst plan in the history of mankind. She tried to convince me, saying it was the best option.
I called her selfish and told her she was out of her mind to expect me to abandon our daughter when she's so young for any amount of time.
She said that I was actually the selfish one for hogging my daughter's attention and called me an asshole. She then stormed into the guest bedroom and slept there for the night. And today she's done nothing but ignore me, and whenever she sees me do anything with our daughter she glares at me. I'm pretty confident I'm in the right, but I've still gotta ask. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, just stay home. My kids were, in phases, also daddy's kids. But one thing. Are you as strict as she, or are you the fun parent and is she having to do the negative parent stuff? We had conversations about it. I cannot always be the parent who says it is bedtime and dad the one who says nothing or even says 5 more minutes. It did make a difference and parenting is a team job. Not the asshole. You gave her a constructive, loving suggestion. She replied with a destructive, jealous suggestion. She wants you to curate things by vanishing without warning.
It looks like your daughter prefers the person who reciprocates her love and has time for her.
Esh.
You shouldn't leave the house for a week, but you do need to step back if your daughter is favoring you so much she won't even let your wife feed her.
This happened with my baby with my husband too. He wouldn't let him do anything for him. He wouldn't even play with him. I started going upstairs when my son needed something so our son would have to let my husband help him and it didn't take long for him to start seeing him as a caretaker as well. He still favored me, but at least I could go shower and leave the house without my son crying the entire time. You have to compromise and work together so the issue doesn't get worse. Do not ghost your daughter. Your wife sounds like she is struggling with some mental health issues. Don't leave your daughter alone with her for a week under any circumstances. Encourage your wife to get a mental health screening. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Isn't it normal for a kid to prefer one parent over another at this age? If she preferred her mom, would your wife willingly go stay elsewhere for a week so you could bond with your daughter? No. Stand your ground. Your wife is being unreasonable and sexist.
Your wife doesn't have time to go to mommy and me classes, but she will be able to take care of your daughter alone for a week? Is she taking time to do fun things with your daughter? Maybe spend a week where you do the not-so-fun jobs and she spends the week going to the park and playing, but you should definitely not leave the house.
Am I the asshole for telling my friend he smells in front of our friends? My friend, 19M, has always had a problem with his hygiene. Let's call him Jack. Jack would tell me how long he hasn't showered for as if it was a good thing, and brag about how he doesn't smell at all after this long. I, 20M, have spoken to him about it but he always tells me it's good for his skin if he doesn't shower for a week or two. Recently, he's been starting to smell worse than he did before. Every time I tried to address this to him he tells me that he's trying to get to 1 month without showering and that I need to get my nose checked, because he smells fine. A few days ago it was one of my friend's birthday, and since we're in the same friend group they invited me and Jack to their house, and the other members of our friend group. It was pretty fun, chatting, hanging out and watching movies, but Jack smelled significant other bad. And I could tell that my friends noticed because they kept mentioning a musty smell in the house but didn't know what it was. Near the end of our little hangout my friends were clearly getting horribly affected by the smell of Jack. One of my friends said, "I think it's one of us," as a joke. Here's where I fucked up. I laughed at his joke and said, "I know exactly who it is." Jack's trying to reach his 1-month goal of not showering again. Not even joking. At that point my friends realized the source of the smell was coming from Jack. My friend group is pretty ruthless so they started making all types of jokes about him while laughing like maniacs at each one. And I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing like one too. Jack obviously wasn't pleased and just left. The next day Jack had blocked me on everything. I mean I do feel a little bad but at least this might have been a wake-up call for him to shower. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Look, you mentioned it in private and were polite about it, he didn't get the message. Maybe this interaction will make him change his ways, maybe not. I would have probably done the same in your position. Enough is enough. Just take care of yourself or prepared to be ridiculed for not. It's disgusting. Not the asshole.
You lose the right to be spoken to respectfully if you subject your lack of hygiene to other people on purpose.
Not showering for a month is appalling. Not the asshole.
Why is he embarrassed for his goal to be shared with the group, if he thinks that there's nothing wrong with following the bathing schedule of a medieval peasant?
He's an asshole and smells like one. Not the asshole.
You gave the dude a shot by telling him privately and he didn't accept the feedback. The public humiliation is his fault, not yours. F that guy, but don't do it literally, because that would probably be super gross.
But he always tells me it's good for his skin if he doesn't shower for a week or two. I stopped reading after this. Not the asshole.